On we go with Chris Thomas talking about this document that's available now at all good bookshops. No, actually available from the government and it's online. It's the Social Attitude Survey. Housing is where we're up to. Seems like most people, again, let me just get my glasses on, double check this. Most people got a mortgage or a loan. Though quite a lot do own their house outright. But rented is lower. Again, is that the norm? Was you expecting these sort of numbers?
Yeah, well, we know where people live from other sources, but what's interesting from a social attitude survey is about what people plan for the future. So, for instance, I think we know that we have issues with private rented market. I think there's a perception that the cost is more than the value in some situations, and that's what the social attitude survey confirms. 1/3 of private renters optimistically plan to purchase a property within the next 5 years, but also 1 in 5 actually plan to leave the island. So that tells us more about the private rented market and gives us information for when we go in and planning our responses to deal with the private rented market. Having said that, though, we get some encouraging news, because although people told us in general government wasn't doing the right things for their own lives, and that people weren't ever so confident in their government, people are optimistic about their own lives, and as much as a lot of people have told us that they plan to be buying a house in the future, and not a lot of people tell us that they plan to be moving off of the island in the future. So, this is all encouraging. It basically says it's not all lost for politicians.
There's a feel-good factor there then.
There is a feel-good factor that we now need to build on. I think politicians have got to accept that some of the policies in the past were the wrong policies, or at least they weren't completely right policies, and we've got to change those policies. And the Social Attitude Survey gives us ammunition to argue with our colleagues to make sure that they accept that we've got to change our policies.
Okay. We're a trusting nation. Overall, most people can be trusted, I think.
Very much so, and there are even regional differences. So if you're in the south or in the west, you can trust people. You feel as if you can trust people more than if you're living in Douglas.
Oh, because with the hard capital and all that goes with that. I mean, again, that's got to be a bonus, hasn't it?
It has got to be a bonus, and also people feel very close to their island. So nearly half of people feel close, and in fact, 35% of people feel very close. So in fact, it's 85% of people express a closeness to their island. And when they got asked an open question to write down some of the best things that they like living in the island, the third most common was the island's sense of community and the island's culture, which is incredibly encouraging, and it's something to build on. And that's why people like the sports clubs, the cultural clubs, Culture Vannin, the Arts Council, Department of Education that organises so much can be pleased, because they are providing things for people to do. Having said that, one of the negatives about living on the island is lack of things to do for a certain type of people. So we've got to realise that we're not cutting it, and what's provided here doesn't cut it for everybody.
Okay. Engagement, civic engagement. The question was, I feel that I'm able to influence decisions in my local area. Basically, no. Well, sometimes it was a middle ground, but very few actually thought they could make some influence.
More than half thought they couldn't, but in actual fact, we've presented that as being nearly half think they can. So that's actually higher than the percentage of people who have trust in their politicians.
Okay, that's interesting.
At least
it's on the middle bit, right?
At least it's something. But but also what these social attitudes surveys showed up is that people do care for other people quite a lot, 1 in 8 or thereabouts, I think, from memory, and also 25-30% of people do go out there and look after volunteering and participate in general civic engagement type activities.
And a fair amount of people know your name. And I'll say your name, they know their local MHK's name.
And even more surprisingly, perhaps, the way that people think, half of them knew their local commissioner's name as well.
Yeah, that, I must admit, is interesting. But let's leave this one with, do you believe the current Isle of Man government has clear policies? I mean, obviously this is where we touched on the overview one, that it's a huge amount of the thing that there's no clear policies. You must be very disappointed.
Well, it's more this year than it was last year, so this government is having a positive impact. It was 26% last year, it's 30% this year, so we're going in the right direction. But yes, now we have a challenge. So today, Friday the 4th of August, we've put up onto our website information about what we're doing and how we're achieving the things that we're trying to do. We've got this clear document published. I do hope that we're at the beginning of a process where people will understand more what the 2016-2021 government is all about. We want to be a financially responsible government. We want to be make sure that our island is an island of enterprise and opportunity for businesses and people, so that people stay living here, people have enough money to have an adequate quality of life to make them happy, and also that we're an inclusive and caring society. In other words, that the growth that previous politicians have looked for actually includes everybody, so that those 40% of people who told us they were struggling to get by are actually included more in the growth, so that their lives get better.
Proof will be on the pudding, because now this is a yearly thing. You'll get definite sort of numbers, and that can go either way, but obviously something to work at. I know you're running late for another meeting, so I don't know if we've got much more time with you, but if we have, we can do one more. Can we do one more with you?
Very good.
Okay.
You made exactly the right point. 2 out of the 6 macro indicators, the most important indicators for the success of this government, are about whether people have confidence in their government and about whether the government is making a positive difference to their lives. We've got clear indicators for that now. People are entitled to look at that next year and assess us on the performance.
We're only halfway through the book, but we'll have one more section,
okay.
Just a moment or two, back in our next section.